Eyes sharp, move up! Copy, covering left. Right side clear, advancing!
120 soldiers are pressed into the heart of the forest, surrounded by walls of green so dense it swallows sound, obscures distance, and twists perception. Every shadow could conceal a rifle. Every rustle of leaves could be death inching closer. The canopy blocks the sky. The mud slows every step, and even the air feels heavy with menace. They know the forest itself is hunting them. Without warning, gunfire erupts from all directions. It is precise, coordinated, deliberate, not chaos, but an engineered assault designed to fracture discipline. Timber splinters, leaves burst into flashes of fire. Orders are shouted, immediately swallowed by the roar of intersecting volleys. Decisions are made in split seconds. Reinforce here, hold there, do not expose the flank. Minutes stretch into eternity, and then the attackers vanish, leaving only echoes and fear. The silence that follows is more dangerous than the shooting. No one moves beyond the defensive line. Ammunition is counted, positions are tightened. Every man senses the pattern now. Strike, withdraw, observe, return. The forest will repeat the cycle, and the cost of even a single misstep is measured in lives. Weeks pass in this relentless rhythm. The perimeter shrinks, arcs tighten, and the line becomes a fragile circle in the middle of an unforgiving wilderness. When the final assault surges, from the shadows, only 3 soldiers remain operational, holding intersecting fields of fire, waiting for reinforcements to arrive before the forest claims everything they have fought to protect. Before we dive deeper into this battle, hit subscribe, leave a like if you're drawn to stories of survival under fire, and tell me in the comments, if you were trapped in this forest, with limited support, what would be your strategy to survive the next enemy wave? The year is 1942. A remote, uncharted forest becomes the battlefield. 120 soldiers are assigned to defend a critical position carved from the wilderness. Thick canopy, tangled undergrowth, and hidden ravines turn the environment into both shield and trap. The enemy moves with intimate knowledge of every shadow, every branch, every sound. They strike in measured waves, retreat, and return with relentless patience. The defenders are trained, disciplined, and fully stocked with ammunition, but the forest challenges more than firepower. Visibility collapses beyond a few meters. Footing is unreliable, and every decision where to shift men, when to fire, which approach to reinforce carries immediate consequences. One wrong move can open a breach that no sheer courage can repair. Combat does not stretch endlessly. It erupts, then disappears. Assaults last hours, not days, followed by tension so thick it is almost tangible. In these pauses, the soldiers must adapt, anticipate, and survive not just the enemy, but the unforgiving forest that hides both threat and cover in equal measure. The forest presses in from every side, thick with vines and shadows that seem to breathe. 120 soldiers carve out a perimeter within this green maze, setting positions among roots and fallen logs. Every tree becomes a potential firing lane. Every clearing is mapped as a kill zone. The men move with quiet precision, understanding that the ground itself is an enemy that can hide danger in every step. The first scouts return with reports of distant movement, the snap of a branch, a rustle that deliberate to be natural. The commander orders restrained, no rash advances. Every man knows the forest could conceal a dozen attackers in a single cluster of foliage. One misstep, one exposed soldier, could unravel the defensive line before the first shot is fired. At dusk, the first assault comes. Gunfire erupts from multiple directions, converging on the outer arcs with surgical accuracy. The attackers do not rush, they probe. Sandbags shatter, leaves explode into flashes of flame and smoke. The defenders respond with measured bursts, each shot deliberate, each movement calculated. Panic is a luxury no one can afford. Minutes stretch like hours. The first wave tests reactions, targets the thinnest points in the line. Orders are shouted and immediately executed. Soldiers shift positions, covering gaps, trading places seamlessly. Every decision carries immediate consequences. A second too late, a flank unprotected, a sector exposed. Lives hang on reflexes honed by training and instinct. Then, as abruptly as it began, the attackers retreat. They dissolve into the forest, leaving behind shattered branches, broken earth, and the lingering echo of controlled violence. Silence returns, but it carries no comfort. Every man counts ammunition, checks angles, reinforces weak points. The forest is patient, the enemy will return. The following day, minor adjustments are made. Positions that absorb the heaviest pressure are reinforced. Overlapping arcs are tightened. Patrols move along defined paths, careful to avoid overexposure. Every decision is tactical, every movement intentional. The men understand the forest rewards caution and punishes hesitation. A second assault comes to nights later, sharper, more coordinated. The attackers probe the northern sector relentlessly, testing timing, response, and coordination. The defenders adjust in real time, concentrating fire on the point of highest threat. One soldier falls, but the line holds. Discipline turns a potential breach into a controlled repulse. By the end of the first week, the soldiers have learned the rhythm. The forest conceals, the enemy strikes, and every second between attacks is an opportunity to adapt. Positions are not static, they evolve with each wave. The perimeter has been tested, shaken, and yet it remains intact. But the men know this is only the beginning. The forest will not relent. The forest seems to pulse with anticipation. The air is thick, humid, and still, carrying the faintest hints of movement, a snapped twig, the shift of underbrush. The men huddle in the shadows of massive trunks, scanning invisible corridors through leaves and vines. Every sense is heightened, every decision matters. The attackers no longer strike predictably. They appear, vanish, and return from angles no one had anticipated. The first wave comes at midday, exploiting a narrow ravine that had been overlooked in prior mapping. The defenders are forced to pivot mid-fight, shifting positions under fire. Decisions are instantaneous. Cover the ravine, abandon a forward barricade, risk exposure to flank fire. The forest swallows sound and sight alike, turning familiar terrain into chaos. A single miscalculation nearly breaks the southern sector. One soldier steps on unstable ground, triggering a cascade of noise that draws concentrated enemy fire. His unit reacts, but the momentary confusion leaves space for the attackers to test the line. The choice to hold, rather than retreat, prevents a collapse, but at the cost of 2 more casualties. Every decision has an immediate, brutal consequence. Between assaults, the men do not rest. They alter patrol routes to anticipate unpredictable enemy approaches, reinforce natural choke points, and reposition barricades to cover new angles. The forest itself is both shield and hazard. Fallen trees and hidden ravines become weapons or traps, depending on how quickly decisions are made. The line is fluid, constantly adapting. Another assault comes just after dusk. This time, the attackers attempt infiltration under the cover of a sudden downpour. Rain drums on leaves and helmets, masking movement, blurring sight. Decisions are compounded. Fire prematurely and reveal position, or wait and risk closer penetration. Timing is everything, and hesitation costs a rifleman. The forest amplifies psychological strain. Hours of silence stretch like days. Every rustle sparks suspicion. Every gust of wind might conceal a lurking rifle. Sleep becomes shallow. Thoughts fragmented. The men talk in whispers, rehearsing contingency plans in their heads. Each decision weighs heavier than the last. Supplies remain sufficient, but the weight of constant calculation is wearing. Every choice word to post, when to fire, how to shift men shapes the next engagement. The forest demands vigilance, punishes error, and rewards foresight. The attackers test every weakness, probing relentlessly in ways the defenders never experienced before. The soldiers know they're no longer just defending a line, they are shaping it with every decision. The forest is alive, the enemy adapts, and the line survives only because men can read the rhythm of chaos. This is not about numbers or firepower. It is about precision, patience, and relentless adaptation to an environment that does not forgive mistakes. The perimeter is no longer spacious. Trees have become walls, fallen logs barricades, and the forest itself seems to tighten around the defenders. Only a narrow corridor remains between the densest undergrowth and the men's positions. Every step is deliberate. Every glance scans for movement that could signal the next strike. The attackers no longer test the press, probing for weaknesses with relentless intent. The first assault in this phase strikes at dawn, exploiting a gap overlooked in earlier patrols. The line must contract immediately. Men shift positions like clockwork, stacking firepower along the shrinking arc. Decisions are split-second, leave one sector lightly covered and risk penetration, or pull men from another and risk exposure elsewhere. One hesitation, one wrong call, and the attackers could infiltrate the heart of the line. Infiltration attempts grow bolder. Soldiers hear branches snap centimeters from their positions. A figure darts between trees, pauses, and opens fire. The line reacts instantly to men moving to intercept while the rest provide suppressing fire. The attackers are skilled, coordinating movements to exploit the forest's natural blind spots. Every choice to fire or hold is a gamble. Every movement can draw concentrated return fire. Casualties mount faster now. Men fall, not in large numbers, but precisely enough to strain overlapping arcs. The perimeter shrinks further. Defensive positions are rearranged in real time. Fallen logs are stacked higher, trenches deepened. Natural choke points are reinforced, forcing the enemy into predictable lanes, but each adjustment consumes precious time and energy. Midday brings another assault, sudden and concentrated, hammering the thin southern edge. Decisions must be instantaneous. Shift men to plug the breach, risk leaving another sector vulnerable, or hold fire and absorb the attack. The defenders' coordination and discipline turn what could be disaster into contained chaos, but at the cost of exhaustion and mounting tension. Rain begins to fall, slicking mud and slowing movement. The attackers exploit the weather, moving silently through undergrowth, firing intermittently to keep the defenders guessing. The forest amplifies every sound, masking steps and ricochets alike. Misjudging range could expose a sector or leave a man isolated. Each decision has consequences that echo immediately across the line. By late afternoon, fewer than 30 soldiers remain operational. The perimeter has contracted into a jagged semicircle at the forest edge, the dense undergrowth pressing just meters away. Every man holds overlapping fields of fire, every position optimized for survival. The attackers, sensing strain, escalate with faster, more aggressive probes, attempting to fracture the core before the line fully stabilizes. Night falls, but the fight does not end. Patrols move carefully, listening, watching, anticipating the enemy's next strike. Every decision in this compressed line, when to shift, when to fire, when to conserve, carries immediate consequence. The forest, the enemy, and the survivors are locked in a cycle of pressure and adaptation. The line survives, but barely. The forest has swallowed most of the line. Only 3 soldiers remain operational, crouched behind the last barricades, rifles ready, eyes scanning every shadow. The undergrowth presses in from all sides, hiding movement, twisting perception. The attackers strike relentlessly, probing and testing the final arc, seeking a weakness. Every decision is critical, every second a gamble between survival and death. The first wave of the final assault comes at first light. Gunfire tears through mist and trees, ricocheting off trunks and sending shattered leaves into the air. The 3 soldiers move with precision, covering intersecting fields of fire and trading sectors seamlessly. Every shot is deliberate, every movement calculated. The forest amplifies every sound, but they remain calm, disciplined, and lethal. An enemy soldier slips through a blind gap, firing from the thick undergrowth. The defenders react instantly to provide suppressive fire while the third maneuvers, cutting the attacker down. Before reaching the barricade, missing a reaction could mean death, but timing is perfect. Each decision is executed with ruthless precision. The attackers escalate, coordinating flanking attempts to split the line. They strike in bursts, testing entrance, exploiting every shadow. The forest channels the assault, concealing threats, hiding their numbers, and amplifying risk. The 3 survivors shift constantly, repositioning, redirecting fire, and maintaining contact with radios that link them to incoming reinforcements. Hours stretch into a crucible. The rain intensifies, soaking uniforms, turning footing into treacherous mud, and masking every sound. Visibility collapses. Every movement is uncertain. The enemy uses the weather, the forest, and shadows to press their attack. Every choice, fire, move, hold, is magnified in consequence. Then, distant but unmistakable, the roar of helicopters cuts through the canopy. Reinforcements are approaching. The attackers hesitate, Unsure if the forest's concealment still favors them, or if the new troops will tip the balance, the three soldiers hold their positions, disciplined and resolute, buying time until the support lands. Helicopters descend, unloading fresh troops into cleared zones. The attackers, now flanked and exposed, face inevitable encirclement. Resistance falters, cohesion collapses, surrender becomes the only option. The forest, which concealed danger for so long, now witnesses the end of the battle. The three soldiers are still standing, rifles in hand, eyes scanning the final shadows. The forest is silent once again, but victory belongs to the defenders. Every decision, every adjustment, every moment of patience and precision allowed them to endure and prevail. The forest tested them, but they survived. The three soldiers stand amidst the wreckage of barricades, mud-soaked and exhausted, but alive. The attackers have surrendered, their advance broken not by numbers, but by discipline, precision, and unwavering resolve. Every shot, every movement, every decision made under pressure carried consequences, and the survivors endured them all. The forest, once an enemy itself, now seems to acknowledge their victory in the quiet that stretches across the treetops. Their rifles lowered, the men watch helicopters land, delivering reinforcements that solidify the defensive line. They did not survive by chance. They survived by understanding the rhythm of attack, by exploiting the forest rather than being trapped by it, and by making the right choices when hesitation could have meant death. This is not a story of luck, it is a story of endurance, strategy, and the raw will to hold against impossible odds. If you enjoyed this deep dive into survival and tactical precision, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories of extreme warfare, and leave a comment below. If you were trapped in this forest with limited support, what would be your strategy to survive the next enemy wave?